Hydrogen is just like a mechanic in the car. You don't need to see the mechanic every day. And when you see the mechanic, you put in the car there for 2 to 3 hours. The mechanic cleans filters, it changes the oil, it tightens some bolts, and then you run your car and the car runs pretty good for the next 6 months, 8 months, and then you start to feel some tweaks go again. Hydrogen's just like a mechanic. It comes into your body like the car. It works for an hour, 2 hours, a few hours, and then it leaves, and then your body runs better.
So I'm so excited to have you here today, Mateo. And I've already told people about how great you are. What I would love is for you to tell us a little bit about your background before we get into the depths and the real science behind hydrogen water.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here and helping spread the word of molecular hydrogen therapy, especially with yourself, Dan. So a little bit about my background with molecular hydrogen. I've been using it for a little over 10 years now, started studying it, got a certification course through Molecular Hydrogen Institute, which is the leading research institute. It's an online course for North America. It's an excellent platform for education. So I am certified through level 1 there. I'm also certified as a holistic nutritionist as well, and herbs and supplements, strength and conditioning, nanotechnology, quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement. And so that's a little bit about my educational background that led me to this route of molecular hydrogen and understanding the body on a cellular level.
Very impressive. How did you get into molecular hydrogen study, going through all your other avenues of interest? And what were you looking to do before you got into this?
Well, I actually discovered molecular hydrogen therapy through the research of ozone and other medical gases. So I got really into medical gases, and that all stemmed from athletic performance. I was a competitive boxer, a scuba diver, an avid tennis player, and many other things. So I was always trying to find the natural way, the best way to holistically, naturally repair my body and optimize my performance. So I had tried, supplementation and minerals and vitamins, and then got into biohacking, ozone therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, high altitude training, restricted oxygen. And all those led me into oxyhydrogen. And oxyhydrogen, that study led me into just pure molecular hydrogen inhalation. And once I skimmed the surface, I realized that this is an amazing, amazing molecule. It's going to change the world. And I've been saying this for 10 years. And so here I am, still standing firm in my belief that molecular hydrogen is changing the world. I'm seeing it happen. And that's, I think, due to, 1, it's effective, and 2, it has the highest safety profile of all medical gases.
Fascinating. So before we get into that then, tell me a story of either yourself or someone that you have used with hydrogen therapy and hydrogen water as well, that is so inspirational that it lights you up when you think about it.
That's a hard one, because we're getting in stories almost every week. And some of them, wow, that's great. And some of them where I tear up. So, the one that I think moved me the most was, there's so many, but I'll say, the ones that touch home with the family members. Someone gets a machine, we have an email. Like, I think one of my favorite ones is, hey, we got your machine. It's been such a blessing to the whole family. It was a whim. They heard about it from a friend. The friend said, hey, you should check this out. They knew nothing about molecular hydrogen or my company. They decided, hey, let me check this out. They did some research, just did a instant purchase right away. And they're like, this has literally been the biggest blessing for the whole family. They're saying that the mom and the dad, which are in their 80s, have so much more energy. Their digestion has improved. The mom and dad are getting better. The kids love it. And it's just one of those things that is like, they stumbled across it as an accident, pulled the trigger, and the whole family is benefiting from it. And so things like when I receive an email like that, that really just puts a huge smile in my heart and recharges my batteries to get out there and just help more people.
Now, I'm a huge fan of hydrogen water. That's actually how we met originally. Going back into it, H2O has become a vernacular, as we know, where people talk about H2O, but they don't actually know what it means. So what I'd like you to do is debunk the theory that it's just the name H2O. It's actually the chemical name for water. So why don't you tell us a little bit, and then I want to go into this deep, dive into hydrogen and all the studies, over 1,500 studies that have been done into it. So go ahead and break down water a little bit first.
The whole topic of water is very, very, very fascinating. You can never understand it completely because it's that much of a mystery the deeper you dive. So basically water, right, this element that makes up our planet and our bodies and the world, is actually two gases combined together. So that alone is very puzzling in itself. We have H2, right, hydrogen, two hydrogen, and then O for oxygen. These are two elemental forms of gas that make up the universe and the stars, but when they become together, attached, two gases actually create this incredible liquid called water. Water can go into 4 different phases, and it's one of the only liquids that can do that. And so, as we're very well, water holds memory. It can be charged. It can be programmed. There's water from different sources. We get it from the rain. We get it from the sea. We get it from all different areas. And so there's a lot of misinformation about water, pH of water, pH standing for potential hydrogen, ORP levels, oxidation reduction potential, minerals, distilled. And so we can dive into that. I'd be happy to. But yes, water is actually H2, molecular hydrogen, and O, which is oxygen, combined together. So you think about what our body's made out of, primarily 60 to 80% water. And you think about what water is made out of, H2 and then O. You have H2 is more prominent than the oxygen. So hydrogen is a very natural element to our body, and it's very necessary as well.
So I was a head coach on the Olympic development program.
That's right.
I knew that dehydration at 3% could lead to up to 20% underperformance. But I grew up as a player back in where it rained. And we never really got into hydration because you look up at the skies and you're going to drink your water. But I've learned more and more the importance of hydration. So let's go straight into a cellular level because not all water is created equal. So let's talk about the effect of water hydrating us at a cellular level, and then also the differences in water and how it affects different parts of our real anatomy.
That's another amazing topic. It's super interesting that not all water is equal. It's not created equally. It's not processed equally. And when we receive it, it is not absorbed equally. So when you're talking about hydration, what we want is hydration at a cellular level. We want intracellular hydration. And then that's where our cells can perform properly and optimized. But the typical water that the human gets is what is called dead water. This is not me making this up. This is the work from Dr. Emoto and many other scientists and professionals in the field. But dead water is still water. It looks like liquid, tastes like liquid water, but the properties on a molecular level are not the same. So things that can change is actually the angle of the water molecule can change, and that can have be detrimental or beneficial for us. Things like having hydrogen-rich water, which is an excess of hydrogen in the water that's available, can increase intracellular hydration due to molecular hydrogen's size. And so it's all about cellular hydration. And as you said, you lose 3% of your hydration, you lose 20% of your performance. Well, same thing as we age and we get wrinkled, right? Just like a raisin was a grape at one point, it is dehydrated. So to help slow down the aging process, and aka the dehydration process, we need intracellular hydration, and molecular hydrogen does it the best.
Okay, so this is a great thing that comes to me all the time. Again, I'm a huge believer. I think hydration is the second most important thing in life, with oxygen being the first. But by the time we feel thirsty, we've already gone way past the point of hydration. But absorbing the water into the cells is different than just glugging. I mean, I see so many people get them, again, athletes, they'll get them, they're thirsty. We're past the point of hydration and we just down it and we feel completely bloated. What is it about that water, which I'm going to presume is a form of dead water, that's not being absorbed? And how do we better get that hydration at a cellular level to then lead the rest of the body?
Well, it's a deep question because there's many factors that make up water. You know, the pH, the ORP level, the conductivity, the mineral concentration, the source of water, the TDS, total dissolved solids. Does it have microplastics, heavy metals, chlorine, ozone? So all those things are going to factor as how well we absorb the water and how beneficial that water is for us, or harmful. I mean, we can have tons of water, like you said, you glug, 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 you feel bloated, and then what do? You pee it all out. So what does that tell you? That the water didn't really get into our cells, right? It actually just passed through our systems, flushed out some of the organs, and then came right out the urinary tract. When you have really high quality water with proper minerals, and maybe it's structured water, which gets into some theoretical things, vortexing using different magnets and things like that. Then we're adding that life back to water, and water has this quote unquote life force to it. It helps with that absorption. And so a lot of the water that sits in a plastic bottle on shelves with heat for long periods of time that's not moving is going to be stagnant, dead water. But when we have water that's moving, that's flowing, that's alive, that's breathing with oxygen and hydrogen, then it has life to it, and that's going to be more beneficial water for us. And so typically, easy test we can do is, one, we do want to see where our TDS is at, total dissolved solids. This is a really at-home simple test that anyone watching can get one of these meters for as little as $30 to $40. You test the water at your home. You buy the water filters, you have the filter on your fridge. Do you know the filters are working? Right? So taking that power and knowledge into our hands is our responsibility. If the companies that you're buying products don't provide a form of measurement, then we have to educate ourselves, right? I was never a water expert, but I liked being healthy, so I had to learn, right? So I took on that responsibility to learn about the things that I can do in my power. That's not a $50,000 laboratory device, but a $40 at-home meter to test your water quality, make sure your filters are working. Your filters haven't been changed in a while, and they're collecting dirt. Then now this is a place that just breeds filth and germs because it hasn't been changed. So the filter can be good for you at first, and then if you don't change it, now it can actually be more harmful. So there's so many little at-home things we could do between a TDS meter, an ORP meter, ORP, oxidation reduction potential, to give us insights of the water quality we're drinking, to point us in the right direction, because there is probably close to 50 or 100 factors that we'll need to know about water to really understand it the best. You know, some of the easy ones are a TDS meter, or an ORP meter, a pH meter, a chlorine, maybe a chemical reaction agent for chlorine to make sure you're not drinking chlorine. So these are the little things, and inexpensive, easy, that we can do at our homes to make sure the water we are getting isn't that bad, or hopefully it's great.
It's interesting you say that, because I have the typical refrigerator now that has the water that comes out and it has the filter that goes in there. And so I got one of the meters, I tested it, and my water was just as bad as coming out of the tap unfiltered. So then I changed the filter in my refrigerator, put a new one in, ran it a little bit because obviously it's been static, and the filter made no difference to the water. So just because it's a filtration system doesn't mean to say it is actually doing what it says it does. It could be a commercial gimmick. But something that you talked about, the size of the hydrogen molecule is the smallest molecule, the atom, I should say. The hydrogen atom is the smallest atom in the world. Explain how that helps to absorb the water into the cells with the right process.
Yes, the molecular hydrogen, and hydrogen is the smallest molecule in the universe, in the world. And due to its molecular size, it gives us the highest bioavailability. Bioavailability, meaning it can go into our cell walls. It can actually pass into the cell walls, affect the nucleus and things like that. So because the H2 is attached to the O, which creates water, but it has hydrogen rich, right, an excess of hydrogen in the water, now it's attached to this water, and as it touches all of our cells, it actually can enter into our cell walls and bring in that hydration due to its molecular size. So that is why hydrogen is so effective on nearly every organ and system in the whole body, because it's working on a cellular level. And that's where our focus, and right, Dan, I know you're aware of this, our focus is always on the health of our cells. When we repair the cells repair the organs and everything that runs the body.
Absolutely. So I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about the frequency that comes in water. And like you said, water is very different. So 2 questions. First, if there's dead water, is it dead for good? Because we talk about flowing. If I took a bottle of dead water out of, let's say I went and got, I'm not going to give a brand in here because I'm not a big fan of almost any brand, but
right.
I take it in the bottle, I start shaking it up and swirl it around. Will that re-oxygenate the water to make it into a living water again?
It will add some minor health benefits. Yes, it will. So we can take dead water that has no life force and reprogram it and add life force to it again. So that is true. That's one of those myths. If I shake up my water, does that actually help? Yes, it actually does. It does excite the water. It moves it. It oxygenates it a bit. And ideally, you get some swirls. And through the research of Victor Schwalberger, I call him like the Tesla of water. He's one of the greatest minds in our history that understands water. And he knows very well about vortexing water and how much it adds that life force back to the water.
Well, we'll come back to that because there's something I really want to talk to about structured water as well. I think that, again, has its benefits as well. But with the frequencies in the water, the conversation I had with someone the other day said that the frequencies in the earth, in our air, in our bodies, in our environment really affect the water. And so if we drink Perrier water from France, but I'm living over in Los Angeles, it has a different frequency and doesn't gel with our body. Do you know much about that?
I don't. That's not a field that I've dove as deep into. I'm very familiar with frequencies and imparting and impregnating water with frequencies and those things, how it reacts to different persons' frequencies in different parts of the world, if it cancellizes, or it neutralizes or benefits. Can't speak too much on that.
Okay, so we got to the point where I want to get into hydrogen water itself and going to your website, reading about you and reading about the benefits of hydrogen water. I know that it goes from everything from anti-inflammatory to enhanced energy. You've got oxidative stress, anti-aging, so many different things. Go in and tell us about the effects of hydrogen water over just the general water that we could buy.
Yeah, so when we add available hydrogen to the water, because all water, H2O, has hydrogen, but it's attached to oxygen, so it's not available. So when we make hydrogen-rich water and we add available dissolved hydrogen to the water and consume that, that is where we do start to see the 2 main principles that we know that we can say and state as a fact that hydrogen does, molecular hydrogen does in the water, and hydrogen-rich water, is it neutralizes hydroxyl radicals and harmful ROS, reactive oxygen species. So not all of those are bad, but the amazing thing about hydrogen is that it acts intelligently. It acts like an intelligent antioxidant, neutralizing certain oxidants, leaving other oxidants as signaling molecules. And when we do this, that domino effect of neutralizing the oxidative stress is going to, in return, reduce the inflammation, because that is the root of our inflammation, is excessive oxidative stress. So let's reduce oxidative stress, and then as a byproduct of doing that, inflammation goes down. And when inflammation goes down, things flow better, and then there's this just continuous domino effect. It is improving the electron flow in our mitochondria, which in return helps to produce ATP, which in return gives us more energy. So these are the things that we know it's doing.
So let's break this down a little bit, because a lot of people watching won't understand quite as much about the mitochondria, the cell, the ATP, how that's in the cell, the telomere at the end of the cells that are made, we know scientifically, to live for 122 years. That's what they're meant to be. And yet we're, eliminating, or we're only surviving about 60 to 70% of our lifespan in quality of living. And so water, again, becoming, if we take someone that is dehydrated, we know after 3 days, the chance of survival is almost none, especially in the hot conditions, because of the way that our cells begin to implode. The brain now begins to kill off brain cells, trying to take the liquid from anywhere in the body it can to keep us alive. But the beautiful thing about water is how it passes the blood-brain barrier and has a direct effect on the brain. So let's go back a little bit, talk a little bit about the mitochondria. What is it? The telomere, what is it? The ATP that's created, and then the fact that can we create the better gut health without fasting, but also if we're taking hydrogen water while we're fasting, are we getting even more effect?
So the mitochondria, for those that aren't aware, is our powerhouse. That's what generates energy for the body, is our mitochondria. If our mitochondria is low, that's going to result in a cascade of detrimental effects in the body. So I work with some doctors that only focus on mitochondrial health, because when they boost that, they see all the other health scores go up. So mitochondria is very important, and the health of our mitochondria is very important. And what mitochondria does is create this chemical, ATP, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I always mess up when I break down ATP. But that chemical is actually what we consider as energy in the body. And so it is all about improving the mitochondria to create more of this ATP, because when the body has energy, it has the energy to do what it's programmed to do. Detox, cleanse, right, repair, all these things. Then we're also talking about the telomeres. And yes, that is the caps on the end of, I believe, our chromosomes. And so as we age and its cellular respiration starts to break down, the telomeres will shorten and shorten and shorten. We don't want that. We want them to be long, and we want to lengthen our telomeres, and we want to slow down the rate of how fast our telomeres break down. So telomeres is, for now, it's been a while, been recognized as one of the standard go-to segments in the body to test and measurements for aging, how fast we're aging, how slow we're aging, is our telomeres, right? And you can do those tests with blood labs for, the health and quality of your telomeres. So we have telomeres, we have mitochondria, we have ATP, we have, the hydroxyl radicals, reactive oxygen species. These are also, not all of them are harmful. Some of them are. A lot of the hydroxyl radicals are the worst ones that we do want to eliminate. And so all these things, certain antioxidants will go and wipe out every oxidant. We don't want that, right? Because we need certain oxidants as signaling molecules. And so that's why hydrogen is just, we see what it does, but we don't know how it acts so intelligently. The best scientists and professors in the world from Japan, Korea, China, and the US, they don't understand how it acts so intelligently. Because we found that in my body, I might need an antioxidant-like effect. That's what hydrogen will trigger. But for you, you might need, Dan, an oxidant-like effect, and hydrogen will actually trigger more of an oxidant or an oxidizing effect. So how hydrogen knows to act differently in each person's body, we still don't understand that part. But we know it acts intelligently, and that's why it's become such a big point of topic, because we want to understand how it acts so intelligently.
If you're fasting and taking hydrogen water at the same time to support your system through the fast, will you get more results or actions that help with that gut health?
I actually have a friend, he did a 40-day water fast with sea moss, water, and hydrogen-rich water. And he had amazing results. And so here's some other information that is going to coincide with what we're talking about, is that hydrogen has a higher absorption on an empty stomach. So if we're taking hydrogen during a fast, Well, one, we're already going to get the highest absorption because there's no food to disturb the absorption process. Two, the energy in the body is going to be liberated because it's not working on digestion. So if we have more liberated energy and you're taking in more hydrogen, which helps our energy, then you're going to be doing like a supercharged fasting process with you, include hydrogen at the same time. We already have seen if you add molecular hydrogen to breath work, you're hitting some of these really epic points during breath work at like half the rate of time. So we're seeing that hydrogen is just helping these processes happen faster. So the autophagy, the regeneratory effects from fasting, if you include hydrogen-rich water and or H2 inhalation at the same time, that's going to just super ignite that fasting process and help you stay healthier during it too, because it's going to help with that intracellular hydration.
I'd love to talk about alkaline water versus neutral pH hydrogen water, and also what is good and bad hydrogen water, because I know the effects can certainly be everything from confusion to vomiting to nausea, and a myriad of other things that's the body reacting to protect itself. So we want to stay away from the negative effect that I know can come from products that are claiming something and you're paying for it on the coattails of someone that's actually knowing what they're talking about. So jump into that.
That's such a good point, Dan, because one of my things, and again, me and Tyler LeBaron have talked about this, and we're very prominent about education and giving the truth to people, because if a company sells a product, and then let's say it's a hydrogen-rich water bottle, and you drink it, and you get this kind of sick effect, you feel nauseated, and you feel bad, and you feel awful, then you say, you know what? Hydrogen isn't real, it doesn't work, and it actually hurt me. Okay, and in the same respect, you could do an inhalation machine, and you see someone that we're using, you say, oh, yeah, I tried the inhalation. Oh, man, I felt horrible. I actually got really sick. It's bad news. Well, that happens to do with the quality of products, and that all hydrogen isn't created equal. And so that's when we get into good hydrogen and bad hydrogen. So, example, I have a friend, he has a company, he said, hey, we have these new hydrogen-rich water bottles, we want to sell them. What do you think? I go, well, let's run some tests. First thing we do, let's check for dissolved available hydrogen in the water with a simple meter, or you could use a chemical reaction called H2 blue drops. Okay, you get an H2 digital meter or H2 blue drops, you do your test, you find out if there is available dissolved hydrogen in the water above 0.5 ppm per liter, because 0.5 ppm per liter is the minimum therapeutic dosage that's shown to have benefits for a human body, 0.5 per liter. So if we know those parameters, then we can continue to move forward. Okay, now let's say, okay, there is 1 ppm per liter of available hydrogen in the water. Okay, great. We hit the minimum therapeutic levels. Let's move forward. Let's check the pH of the water. pH is at 11.9. That's bad. And now this comes with a whole nother education speech, but our stomach resides with or without food at a very acidic nature. And when I mean acidic, I mean anything below 7 on the pH scale. 0 to 7 is on the acidic profile. Anything above 7, from 7 to 14, is on the alkaline profile. Our body as a whole runs around 7.2, 7.3 on the alkaline side, just barely alkaline as a whole system. Different organs have different pHs, and our stomach has a very different pH. And for digestion, it needs to stay at a very low acidic state of around 2.5, which is hydrochloric acid. So when you drink a high alkaline liquid, that is going to hurt and damage and raise the pH of your stomach acid. That's not what we want to do. So that's what we would call a high alkaline water with hydrogen concentration is bad hydrogen or dirty H2. And that's my own my names that I've created that I've seen over the years. But if you have a product that very slightly alters the pH to it's at a 7, 7.5, maybe up to 8, I will accept. And and you have high hydrogen concentrations, this would be in the safe zone as good or healthy hydrogen. So that happens to do with hydrogen-rich water, the things to look out for, the things that no companies are talking about. Hydrogen water, maybe they state the H2 saturation that they claim. So that's one thing. And you might see that and you say, okay, this does 2 ppm, 3 ppm. Great. Next thing you need to ask is, what's the pH? Right? So then if they say, oh, it's alkaline at a 9.5, that is something, in my opinion, I wouldn't recommend that, because extended usage of high alkaline water does harm our gut health, and our gut health is very important for our enzymes, our prebiotics, and our hormone production, digestion, and many, many other things. So you do need to ask that company, whatever company you're looking for, you're researching, you're going to buy, hey, it's cool, you have hydrogen. Does it release any harmful oxides like chlorine into the water, or harmful things through the process of injecting the H2 into the water? Are you getting H2 into the water as a byproduct by alkalinizing the water? Are you getting H2 as a gas form injecting into the water? These are things no companies are talking about that are very important. And there's some forms of injecting H2 into the water that is very stable, where you can drink hydrogen-rich water for 8 hours, right? And it'll have that hydrogen in the water. There's other forms that as soon as it's made into the water, you need to drink it right away. And if you wait 30 minutes, you lost all the health benefit. There's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, it's much more complicated than the commercial advertising makes you think. Just get it and do it and you'll be fine. As an athlete, if I'm out on a bike ride, it's 100 degrees out, I need to stay hydrated, I take my hydrogen water, I put it in my water bottle. I know as soon as I take it out of that hydrogen creating bottle, right, the generator, and put it into my water bowl, the chance of a lot of the hydrogen already being released on the pouring effect is going to happen. Is there any way for hydrogen to stay in a water bottle that's open while I'm biking, or even an athlete that has the water bottles constantly be open and shut in a soccer game or football or basketball?
You are taking molecular hydrogen in a gas form and injecting it into water through a very small micron-sized diffusion rod. This specific application of putting hydrogen gas into water is the most stable form of injecting hydrogen into water, where you could be on a bike ride and you have your bottle below the seat and you're biking away and you open it and you do a squirt and it goes back. That is the only way of adding hydrogen to the water that is the most stable, that you could actually have it probably close to 6 hours after the injection process. No other form of process puts hydrogen in the water that is that stable.
Amazing to know, because I always try and hydrate before I ride. I know when I was at the Biohacker convention, you had set up with the hydrogen going through the nose and people were loving it. I think you had one of the busiest booths, if not the busiest booth there. Explain to me what happens there.
Yeah, so we had set up with the molecular hydrogen via inhalation. And that is one of the fastest routes and forms to saturate the blood in a very quick way, very effective way. And that's typically our number one go-to. Someone were to ask us, hey, what's the best way to take hydrogen? We'd say inhalation. And through, because when you drink hydrogen-rich water, it's wonderful. There's the studies. But, you know, this glass of water right here, for example, this is a pretty large glass, larger than 12 ounces. And if I were to drink this, I'd be pretty full after that, right? And so if this is hydrogen-rich water and I drink this down, okay, no more, I'm super full, I can't have any more. But if you're sitting there breathing the hydrogen, you never get full, and you're always getting in the hydrogen. So you're maintaining this peak saturation level in your blood continuously with the inhalation. And when you maintain a peak saturation level for extended periods of time, you're maximizing the potential and the effects of hydrogen.
So give me some of those effects, because I know people watching would be, okay, tell me, if I did that, if I inhaled it, what is the effect and how long should I do it for at a time, and how long would the results last?
Hydrogen taken in any form, if it's hydrogen-rich water, if it's tablets, if it's a saline injection, if it's through inhalation or a hydrogen-rich bath. Any form is going to get to all the cells eventually and do those main features that hydrogen does, which is anti-inflammatory and helping our mitochondria. However, what we learned is that via inhalation, where hydrogen gas actually touches, we're getting much faster results. So, example, if you have lung issues, any respiratory issues, we would say breathe, breathe, breathe molecular hydrogen, because the gas is actually going to touch and interact directly with the lungs. If you have, you're focusing more on cells, muscle tissue, brain, and heart, we would say breathe, breathe, breathe. And if you have to choose between breathing the hydrogen or drinking the water, and you have a gut health issue, we would probably recommend drinking the water for gut health issue. If you have to choose between one of the two. If you have asthma and you have to choose between one of the two, breathing or hydrogen water, we're going to say breathe, because that's going to affect with that respiratory area. And the breathing too, again, you don't get filled up. You can only drink so much water before you're full. You only want to take so many tablets. But with the breathing, you can do it for hours while you're sitting there on the TV and watch a 3-hour movie and get 3 hours of cellular regeneration, and you don't even feel it, right? And so that's where we specialize, and typically we're known as an inhalation type of therapy, because when we find that you're doing inhalation 5 days a week to 7 days a week, I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle what we see. And if you stack that with what we call the triple punch, you take a tablet a day, you're drinking hydrogen-rich water, and you're doing your daily inhalation, that is getting hydrogen at every nook and cranny in the body, directly affecting our gut health, our lungs, the brain, the heart, our cells, and you're staying saturated on a daily basis. We've never not seen it work. We've never not seen someone's athletic performance increase or their health condition not improve. We just haven't seen it.
So what happens if someone's taking it then, and they've got this triple, attack, they go into the system, and then they go off it for 3 weeks? What's the negative side of that?
That's a great question, Dan, because, I wouldn't say that there's a negative side, but there is a drop-off point and typically a 7 to 14 day window of rebalancing your body. So if you're hitting hydrogen 30 days every day at every which angle, your body starts to get accustomed to saying, hey, wow, I love this. I'm getting used to all this extra help and this extra support. And then after 30 days, boom, cold turkey, no hydrogen. Your body's immune system, and this was where its baseline was at before hydrogen, before you started hydrogen, was here. After, you might drop a little bit in a 7 day, could be up to 14 days. It could lessen a little bit. And then once it rebalances, it would go back up to its new baseline. So immune system before hydrogen, immune system during hydrogen, immune system right after hydrogen, and then you stop taking hydrogen, it resurfaces at your new low level, which is still higher than where you were before. So we have seen a bit of a drop off, but only 7 days, sometimes up to 14 before your body rebalances at its new low baseline.
And how long after that, if you didn't take it for how long, would it drop back to its original baseline?
Now, there's many different factors of your lifestyle habits, but we're looking at like 6 months, give or take 6 months. For the average person that continues to eat the processed foods and the seed oils and drinks on the weekends, right, you're going to lose your higher baseline, go back to your old baseline pretty quick. We'd say probably within 3 months to 6 months. But if you're maintaining, you're working out 3 to 5 days a week, eating really clean and staying on your biohacking detox protocols, you're going to maintain that for 6 months, maybe even up to a year, just through that 30-day cycle of hydrogen. The best analogy that I've found is that hydrogen is just like a mechanic in the car, right? You don't need to see the mechanic every day. And when you see the mechanic, right, you put in the car there for 2 to 3 hours, the mechanic cleans filters, it changes the oil, it tightens some bolts, and then you run your car and the car runs pretty good for the next 6 months, 8 months, and then you start to feel some tweaks go again. Hydrogen's just like a mechanic. It comes into your body like the car. It works for an hour, 2 hours, a few hours, and then it leaves, and then your body runs better.
So who shouldn't take hydrogen water or hydrogen itself?
As of to date, public research shows that there is no harm, no risk. But through my personal in the field, living and breathing the hydrogen and working with hundreds and maybe thousands of different clients now, the only thing that we found someone that shouldn't is potentially someone with SIBO. SIBO, S-I-B-O, is a condition where someone's gut health is producing more hydrogen than they need. Now, there's different forms of hydrogen. There's monohydrogen, there's dihydrogen, H2O2, right? Hydrogen peroxide. There's many different forms of hydrogen. And the specific form that we use is molecular hydrogen, also known as dihydrogen or H2. Now, SIBO is not that form of hydrogen. So that is an area where I'd say if there's anyone that we might need to add some precaution to the wind is someone with a SIBO case, because there's just not enough data on there. We definitely don't want to create a worse problem for them. So anyone with that type of issue, we would say, hey, pump the brakes before you try it, do your own research, and then monitor how you feel after it. Because I just don't have enough data there. Pregnancy, being that it's such a delicate matter, I can't publicly recommend it for pregnancy. But what I will say is that there's many studies showing that it improves pregnancy in many different conditions of pregnancy. And then again, we could also warn anyone with the type of a seizure attack. There's studies showing it can improve those symptoms of seizures, but proceed with caution because an attack can come at any moment. And God forbid that attack happens while they're breathing the hydrogen, and then the culprit is hydrogen, when it was just they were due for an attack anyway. Anything like a seizure attack, an asthma attack. Now, I could send you 5 studies showing it improves asthma, right? But any type of an attack symptom, we'd say proceed with caution. You go at your own risk, but I'll share with you these studies saying it should help, but we can't professionally recommend that as a protocol.
In the body, we have a natural filtration system. The
Yes.
danger is, again, we get into the fluoride in the water, we get into the microplastics, we get into the metals, all the other stuff that's in there. Our body is built to filter that out. However, with the change in the atmosphere, in the air, in the pollutants, in the amount that the body now is having to fight, even in our own food, because of the changes of the chemicals in there, how important is it to protect and pre-filter the water we're absorbing? Because again, that is our number one source of energy to a cellular level outside of oxygen itself. And the importance that I put in to make sure that our blood flow is good, make sure that, if we don't hydrate, our blood begins to congeal. It makes it harder to pump around. We're not getting the oxygen, the red blood cells around our body. But the filtration system in the body itself, how important is that? Because what's happened between our body and our water and the filtration system naturally?
DDW, which is deuterium depleted water. Okay, this deuterium depleted water is basically gone through a multi-million-dollar filtration process. And that actually removes so much particles in the water that it removes deuterium. Okay, and so when you're talking about filters and the importance of clean water in our body, there are actually scientific and medical studies showing that just drinking deuterium depleted water is actually helping reverse chronic illnesses. So just by having a super, super clean water, now deuterium depleted water is just another level of filtration. Literally, very huge, tall, 50-foot towers, multi-million-dollar facility to create deuterium depleted water. But that is the importance of having clean water, how much it can help our bodies. And so, yes, our filters in our body, which is our lymph system, is super important to stay clean. And just like if those lymphs aren't clean, they're collecting bacteria. And so now this filter was helping us filter out bad to going to this side, is now getting sludged up with germs and bacteria, and now the water's still hitting and going, but it's now compromised. So now this is just a collection point of bacteria and germs and viruses. Now it is now, instead of filtering out, it is now contaminating all of our blood through this filter. So the filter, once acting good to stop the things from getting in the blood, is now tainting all of our blood with all the nasty things that the filter collected. So having clean drinking water and a healthy lymphatic system and filters for our body are absolutely necessary of the systems that run our body and can make or break a health regimen. You could be doing X, Y, and Z to be helping your health, but if your filters are dirty or your water's dirty, well, you're not going to make great progress.
I'm going to go through a little list here of myths that I wrote down doing research online for what most people think. And you can give me, a 30-second answer or go longer if you want. Myth number 1, hydrogen water is a fad.
I don't believe so. I think this is going to be around for the years to come. If you could call alkaline water a fad, which you would say that's a long, stubborn fad. If it is a fad, I think that hydrogen-rich water, if you call 5 years a fad, 10 years a fad, I don't think it's going to be a fad. I think it's be around a lot longer than that.
Hydrogen water has no scientific base.
Oh, false. Fallacy. There's about, actually, 3,000 studies out right now. About 1,000 of them are clinical, science-backed clinical studies. And about, I'd say 60% of those 1,000 are going to be with hydrogen-rich water. So the data is there. I mean, that's why that type of argument is an easy one to squash, because I say, look, don't kill the messenger. Here's pop, 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 pop. Here's 50 studies with hydrogen-rich water. And then that's squash. That's an easy one.
All hydrogen water generators are equal.
Okay, that's a big fallacy. Going to be false, because all hydrogen is not created equally due to the materials used to create hydrogen as a reaction. If there's third-party tests to show that there's other harmful oxides being released, I know there's some tablets out there that did a third-party test that showed lead was a prominent oxide being released in the water-dissolved tablets, as well as gas analysis through hydrogen inhalation. The proton exchange membrane, that is a form of electrolysis, which is a cathode and anode. Water, H2O, goes into these cathode and anodes. Electricity is brought to the cathode and anode. You have a positive and a negative. When electricity is brought to there, it separates H2 from O, right? H2 and O being gases, now it reverts back into gas form. Now, what materials are on these electrodes, the cathode and anode, is where you could get hydrogen with chlorine, right? Or you could just get pure hydrogen.
Hydrogen water is unsafe to drink.
Okay, false. I've never seen any studies out there showing that hydrogen water could harm you. If there is harmful or negative testimonials out there, then we need to retract back to what device they used. And was it actually from the hydrogen in the water, or was it from a super high alkalinity in the water? Or was it from an oxide being released to the water like chlorine or ozone? That's a thing you could test for at home. Hey, I have a hydrogen water bottle or a hydrogen water pitcher machine. Let me make some and put some chemical reaction agents of chlorine bromide into water to test for chlorine in the water. And if you put 5 drops and you've seen the water turn a little orange or yellow, hey, my machine's making chlorine, significant that the machine is releasing harmful oxides.
Hydrogen water is expensive and inaccessible.
No, that's not true either. Now, there's different qualities, right? There's different qualities of hydrogen-rich water. You could get hydrogen-rich water that's the good hydrogen-rich water, or this dirty hydrogen-rich water that's easily accessible. They have quality tablets out there as little as $50 to $40 per bottle that could get you great hydrogen. And I think $40 to $50 for a month's supply I think that's pretty reasonably priced. So that's accessible, it's affordable. And I mean, for example, the tablets I have are $50, which would be on the more high end for a tablet. But what we've seen after 30 days of the tablets is worth the weight in gold.
Are there products out there that you've tested that you categorically, and I'm not asking for names, but you categorically can know are creating more problems than they're helping through hydrogen?
Yes. Yeah, we found them. There's many, many years in the field. 6 years ago, I was a frustrated consumer. I was buying different machines, different products. trying to get someone on a phone call, trying to learn. And I'm just like, this is weird. Every company I've bought, every company I've tried, they're dodging this one question. They just won't hop on a call. And I just got really disappointed in the molecular hydrogen field as a whole. From companies in Japan, where it kind of originated from, you think it never happened over there. It's happening over there. The tablets, we found lead in the tablets. We found certain machines to leach harmful chemicals. And then there's just telltale signs that I can tell, and now being a professional and expert in the field, I found the telltale signs that, hey, if this device only has a 2-hour runtime, well, that let me know that after 2 hours, they're probably overheating and oxidizing the materials. So there's little telltale signs I could tell that this is a quality product, or this is harmful, or they're using cheaper materials, or they're just lacking sensors. So, and anyone that knows me that's ever hopped on a phone call with me, I will tell them that just a straight shooter. Hey, what about this machine? What about this machine? What about this? I'll say, this is good. This is not. This is bad. This is great. Make it go with whatever company you want, right? We have big contracts. We have many clients. So we have stability. I'm not fighting for sales. So I just send people where they need to go, what's going to resonate with the best with them. I don't want any headache customers. So I'll send them to another brand and say, hey, I think this brand might suit you better with what you're looking for in your price budget. But I will tell them, these things are a red flag to me. If you can't get anyone a phone call, red flag. Short warranty, red flag. Short runtime, red flag. 1 to 2 red flags should have you pump the brakes enough.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, again, I can look at the price and determine I don't want to spend more, but the cost could be way higher. It's way best in something that's going to work than waste money on something that isn't going to work, but because it's cheaper, you think you're getting away with something. And again, quality always has a price to it, as do results. Tell me about the effect that hydrogen water can have on MS, Parkinson's, neurological diseases, and what have you experienced with anyone in those realms?
There's different root causes for some of those chronic illnesses listed. And in general, what we've seen at certain saturation levels of hydrogen-rich water, we see really good response. And we've also seen no response. So that's when we get into it's not apples to apples. You got to really figure out at what saturation levels does that study show improvements in Parkinson's. And a lot of times it's not what's easily found. And so in general, what we've learned is that the higher the saturation levels, in general, not always, but in general, and the higher flow rates, in general, not always, seem to give better results. And so, Dan, our product that we've been talking about releasing, we are hitting the highest saturation levels. So we know that any hydrogen-rich water claim study that we want to use, our therapeutic level is at least meets that and or most likely exceeds it by 2-fold, sometimes 5-fold.
So what's the minimum ppm then that you would have to reach that level? And I'm talking about the bottom level, because I know people will go out there and they'll say they got 5, they start doing ppb to confuse the consumer that they think they're getting ppm, so they're not looking at the last letter and thinking they're getting more hydrogen in their water than they actually are. So what is the minimum should be ppb?
ppm. Okay, right. So ppm, parts per billion, parts per million. We use them interchangeably, but for marketing, you'll see companies use billion because it sounds bigger, and you say it's 1,000 parts per billion, higher than any other bottle on the market, right? Well, the data shows the minimum level is 0.5 parts per million ppm per liter of water. Now, all those things I said are very, very important, because you could have, my bottle does 0.5 ppm of H2 in the water. Great, I'm hitting the therapeutic levels per liter. You don't get those therapeutic effects if you drink less than a liter of 0.5 ppm. So these are those things that no company out there is talking about. And so we'd have to do a decent amount of math to figure out, so I need to drink less than a liter. So if I'm drinking less than a liter, then what does my saturation levels need to be? to hit the minimum therapeutic dosage, right? And so then you get into, well, now you need at least 1.5 to 1.7 parts per million if you're drinking around a 12-ounce glass of water to hit those minimum levels. Now, minimum levels are good, but when we want like maximum levels, right? Minimum therapeutic or maximum therapeutic, right? So that's what Axiom does. We always go, we find our minimum baseline of what's the studies claim is this is a minimum level, and then we'll double it, triple it, quadruple it. And so we know that we're not even going to ever be close to the minimum levels. We're always going to at least double your minimum level of therapeutic dosages.
Which I believe is critical because people don't want to come to you to maintain or slow the decline.
Mm-hmm.
Thing in the, I don't like saying biohacking because it has a negative connotation with it as well. I think it's really about maximizing our natural abilities. And also there's a lot of people that I believe in the biohacking world. I think a lot of people are trying to dismiss it because it's not good for big pharma to hear this. They're trying to put a negative connotation. But for people that are watching, this is really about taking your own natural ability and giving it the right resources to maximize its ability to not just slow the decline, but to reverse the decline and actually increase your ability to perform. Is there a certain level? Is there something that you like? Because I know that we can also flush our system by drinking too much clean water without having the sodium and potassium and things that we need to function.
Yeah, I'd say that there's a couple different products out there that has kind of ionic mineral tinctures that seem to be a good mineral balance to add to your water. But it's always good to know where you're starting from. So instead of just willy-nilly, hey, I want to just add more electrolytes to my water, well, you might want to start with a baseline to say, first off, where's my daily drinking water coming from, and what is, let's call it a health score of this water. So the water that I'm going to be drinking every day, the source of that water, where is that for one? Two, it'd be really nice to know for someone to say, hey, am I actually lacking any minerals and vitamins? And if I am across the board, then this adding an ionic tincture or a mineral composition to my water could make sense. But if you have a very high level of minerals and vitamins and maybe too high, well, then you could learn real quick, hey, I don't even need to be messing with adding minerals to my water because I'm actually a little too high, right? So I used to shoot in the dark in the past. Now I work with a bioresonance type of technology that gives us super accurate information on minerals, vitamins, and where we're lacking, where we're heavy. And so now I use that as a baseline to see, hey, I used to just take zinc and vitamin C every day. Then I learned, hey, my zinc levels are too high. So I stopped just taking zinc. I know there's benefits to zinc, but if I don't need zinc, why am I taking zinc every day?
Sure.
You know, so that's the first thing I recommend is try to get a baseline of where your minerals are at now. And if they're low, most likely they're low for the average American, then it would make sense to get a ionic mixture of minerals added to your water.
Great advice, information. What would you like anybody watching this to know as your takeaway?
Our health is our responsibility. And we have to take ownership and responsibility and not make excuses. And then I went through a transformation. I realized, wow, I'm really good at making excuses of why I'm not here, why my health is not there. And when I just made a hard line in the sand and I said, I will never make excuses again. And this is all my responsibility. If I fail, it's because I failed, not because of my team or because of product or because X, Y, and Z. It's always me. And so that is the one takeaway, is that our health, our success, our happiness, our joy, our anything in life is our responsibility.
You are a gentleman and a scholar.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here, for doing this, taking the time to put the truth out about hydrogen, the impact, the importance. I say to people, as you just said, invest in yourself. It's the greatest investment you'll make, because the more you learn and the better you are, the more you can help others as well. And I think the magic we seek is in the work we avoid. And if we turn, do the work, put the investment in, and make smart decisions, we throw money away every day. on things that give us a 20-minute fix but leave us lower. And so I look forward to seeing your new release coming out in between 60 and 90 days. I'm going to hold you to that time frame. It better not be 91 days.
No, I won't.
But I really appreciate you sharing your time, your knowledge. I know you've invested your life into this, and I've learned a ton today, and I will continue to learn from you. So, Mateo, thank
you so much.
Thank you for being part of Born Superhuman. I look forward to, again, seeing you soon.